So I finished the second half of the first season of Mazinger Z. Discotek finally released it on Blu-ray. It's been out on DVD for years, and I didn't pick it up because it jumped in price. But I got this for a decent price, and I recommend it. But I will have one big caveat, which is that there are better giant mecha anime from that era. A few of them, I would say Combattler V, I think was better. Fighting General Daimos and Voltus V. So it's kind of a standing on the shoulder of giants because all of them came after Mazinger Z. As far as I know, Mazinger Z kind of broke the mold in that I think it was the first piloted giant mecha from Japan, from anywhere. There had been controlled robots, but I believe this was the first giant mecha. And I'd say the issue I have is that a lot of the writing was, I would say, lazy or not intelligent. Some of it was very good, particularly when you compare it against contemporaries from the United States like Scooby Doo and the Super Friends. I think it was actually very intelligently written and far more emotional. But there were some serious problems, so I thought I would just do a little fun video and give the Photon Power Laboratory some advice on how to beat Dr. Hell, because it took them, I don't know, 92 episodes it took them to finally defeat Dr. Hell. And they could have done it probably a lot quicker if they hadn't been so dim-witted. And Dr. Hell was kind of dim-witted also. This is the big three. Of course, we have Mazinger Z, Boss Barat, and then I put Aphrodite on a stand because she's got kind of small feet and a little bit top-heavy, so I put her on there. By the way, I think this is not in scale properly. When I look at the videos, and the Japanese are not always particularly meticulous about scale consistency, particularly back then, but Boss Barat was about the same height as Mazinger Z, and you could see that he's dramatically smaller here. Okay, first of all, for the Photon Power Laboratory, create more robots. Why would you stick with just three? And if you think that they simply couldn't do it, they didn't have the resources to do it, they created Boss Barat. The three head scientists created Boss Barat out of junk when they were kidnapped by Boss, Muka, and Nuke. And despite the fact that he was created out of junk, he's a pretty effective robot, I would say on par with Aphrodite. So just keep creating robots. And I get it. They're just a photon laboratory out there. But every robot you create gives you a better chance. So Mazinger Z was created by Juzo Kabuto, which was the grandfather of Koji Kabuto. And you could say, well, maybe Juzo Kabuto was so intelligent that they could not create anything to approach Mazinger Z, except that doesn't make sense because Mazinger Z was constantly upgraded by the scientists at the Photon Laboratory. So that would mean that these scientists were possibly equal to Juzo Kabuto because they were coming up with better weapons for Mazinger Z. Now, in the case of Aphrodite, there was an argument at the beginning, which was she's going to be a robot for peace, so don't give her any weapons. Now she's got her boob missiles, and later on, when Aphrodite's destroyed, they switch to Diana, and she's got a beam weapon, and they send her out constantly. If I don't think anybody around in Japan was inspired by her as a symbol of peace, and they're at war. Give her weapons. She's constantly beaten down. Give her the kind of weapons that Mazinger Z. Again, I don't understand why they couldn't do that because he was getting upgrades. So give her, and her own father argued that she shouldn't have weapons. Okay, then don't send her into battle because she's constantly beaten up. have backup pilots for Mazinger Z, 2 or 3. There are so many episodes where Koji Kabuto is injured and can't pilot it, and they have no backup pilots. So maybe he's the best, but have some backups. Now, they could have solved this. It was kind of solved, I'd say, with Giant Robo, where Daisaku Kusame controls Giant Robo, and he's the only one because his father created Giant Robo, and Giant Robo could only be controlled by Daisaku Kusama using his voice control. So you could have done something like that, say, well, only could Koji Kabuto control Mazinger Z, but there's no evidence of that. So get some backup pilots. Now, this was one where the second half of the season improved on a stupid thing in the first half of the season, which is get Koji and Shiro onto the base, because they were living outside the base, and Dr. Hell knew where they were living and occasionally attacked them. It's like, you're at war. Why are you seeing? Now, they finally did move onto the base because Dr. Hell blew their whole house up. But at least, particularly in the beginning, the first half of the season, they were still going to high school, and I think that they continued to go through high school throughout, which meant that they were not at the Photon Laboratory and not safe. And the final one, the biggest one, I would say, is why are they not getting the entire world involved? Why do they not say, listen, the whole plan of Dr. Hell is defeat the Photon Power Laboratory, defeat Mazinger Z, then the rest of the world would fall. Get the entire world scientists, and every once in a while they do get assistance from scientists that, particularly they appear to be from the United States, to come and help out. Get the whole world involved. Why would you sit there and you have the skills to make robots? Start cranking them out. They clearly have the ability to create another Mazinger Z, since they are creating better and better weapons constantly, including giving him upgrades to fly. Now, if I were to give Dr. Hell advice, see, the big problem, I would say, in the plot is that pretty much every episode is the Dr. Hell is attacking. So he's got one focal point to go after. Now, another anime that came out prior, which was not a mecha anime, but was Gatchaman. And Gatchaman did it differently. Gatchaman had a better solution to this, which was that Galactor was doing a worldwide attack. So the Gatchaman would have to go out and fight where Galactor was attacking, whereas in Mazinger Z, it was constantly defense mode, defending the Photon Power Laboratory against Dr. Hell. So it's kind of, it's not really completely spelled out. I know people are going to think that it is, but where did he get the robots from? So obviously he got the robots from the Mycene Empire, which were, I guess, just hanging around. But he's also shown building them. So is he building them, or is he just using them, or is he polishing them up and getting them ready? Why do you only attack with 1 or 2? Just attack with everything. Just do an all-out attack with 10, 20, 50 robots. Now, in a lot of the later series or OVAs or movies, they do show Mazinger Z or Mazen Kaiser facing off against dozens of robots, which makes sense. But then, of course, you have to make Mazinger Z or Great Mazinger, whoever, completely overpowered, because now they could take on dozens. But there's really no solution other than to not have the plot being that Dr. Hell is just constantly going after one focal point. And if he is going after one focal point, then you need to get the entire world involved. And so that's kind of my problem with the series is it's hard for me to get past some of the silliness. Like the whole idea that Aphrodite shouldn't get weapons, or she gets completely useless weapons. Her boob missiles are almost useless. And even and it's a great episode when Aphrodite finally is destroyed, and Sayaka is distraught, and Koji, who's been very chauvinistic throughout, is extremely sorry over what happened. And then they create Diana, which is a more powerful robot, but in her first appearance, she gets obliterated. Like, why not give her give her a chance to shine? She never gets a chance to shine, and it's the same thing in Great Mazinger. Uh, Juno Han is never given a chance to shine, not through the whole episode, through the whole series. And I was really hoping she'd be able to do something big at the end. Never does. So, you know, it's a great series, but not the best. I think that, it was groundbreaking, but I'm going to watch some of the other ones at some point. But it is now available on Amazon or other places, and give it a try. Last year was the 50th anniversary, so this kind of concludes my celebration. Although there's a couple more. There's Diana and one more robot coming out, which were from season 1. So those are come out in June, and I'll talk about them later.